has been a wonderful advance in us to get people dramatically, quickly better with a minimum of interventions, because I have this tool that allows me to screen out all the bullshit that may look good on the surface and may comply with some of the latest studies on stuff. But there's a big difference whether you lower cholesterol with a medical drug or you lower it with maybe giving pantethine or one of the other things. And a huge difference whether you use chlorella to lower cholesterol, that is rich in biophotons. Chlorella is called chlorella because it's got a lot of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the direct molecule that compacts light and binds it. That's why chlorella has a special role in our system, that can give off light. I think, we leave it there. Thank you. That's good. Thanks for letting me do that.
So when you're testing in the field, and if you go over the chakra points, is that going to affect the results of the testing within your...
No, when you work with your hand over the body, it plays no role. You're not getting the chakras that way. You're really getting the intracellular and extracellular compartments with it.
So do the different oral layers correspond with interstitial layers or correspond with intracellular layers? Because if you're at the same height as one, does it mean that intracellular...
No, it's really a completely different issue. The layers of the aura really correspond to the psychological work I do. They have more to do with at what age children were injured or traumatized. That's when a layer is missing. And it seems to be that the red seems to be the first color we come in with. So when we test babies, the red is very strong, but the other ones I can't find. It comes so over the next few years, you find the other layers. And when somebody has been, let's say, hugely traumatized when they were 5 years old or so, then it's often a particular layer of the color is simply missing. And then we do the trauma work, and then it comes back. And with that, a lot of health issues improve. But that's, I'm just doing this here to tell you sort of where we're trying to lead you with this method. It's not to have another method that tells you whether a patient has Lyme disease or not. We can go to a much, much higher level with this. Or you can do all the medical stuff with it, but where I really like to lead you to is these higher levels where you can do the higher spiritual and emotional and psychological work, which really precedes all the biochemical changes that we're getting.
So when a certain color is missing in the auric field where it should be, is that the same thing? You talked about the layers being in the wrong order. Is that something different?
Yeah, one is a case of switching, when the wrong order is, and the color missing. That's an indication of a severe trauma, unhealed trauma, or a real, and it's not always possible to fix it. So we know I teach in the psychological work the different classes of trauma. There is class 1 trauma is you are in a car accident, not caught by surprise, and there's consequences of that. Class 2 trauma is when your mom goes bowling every Friday night with her girlfriends, and dad comes in every Friday night and sexually abuses you. That's a class 2 trauma. That already changes permanently your personality and your everything. And we find the missing color, and we can explain, we can immediately detect that that's the issue. But to heal that, I'm not the greatest healer on that, definitely not for women. I can do wonderful work with men, but I'm shy of working with women. There's too much bad blood between the two sexes. And so I don't know, I wouldn't trust that I can heal that, but I would try, and I would try to heal that, to send the person to people that I trust can do deep work on that level. So class 2, and then there's a class 3 trauma. That's a big cataclysmic trauma, the being in the towers in 9/11, or in a tidal wave, seeing other people die and being squished, especially if it's your own children or so. That also leads to permanent changes in the personality and being that, at least according to modern psychology, cannot be healed. cannot be changed. So you just become a different person because of that. But there's always, like with those traumata, we always find a missing layer in the colors. And but the reason I want to show you this, I want to get you excited about the method, that it doesn't lead you to a boring other option to, instead of doing a blood test for cholesterol, you can also do this. But there's a whole other thing that comes with it.
Finish off by asking what the switching means.
Switching is, the easiest way is to explain neurogenic switching. Neurogenic switching is when you, let's say, you have a complicated way home, from work, you drive and you have to take a few turns. And switching is, when you go left instead of right, even though you don't have to go right, but you go left. Or, for us men, the typical example is, we let her drive. This is up from my time, so it's different now, but, we let her drive and we want to go to a movie house and only I know where it is, and I tell her, okay, I'll take a left turn, and she takes a left turn, and I'll take a right turn, she takes another left turn, and I said, no, not that left, the other one, and she turns around, and the next command, she has it wrong again, that's a neurogenic switching, there is something between the left and the right brain that's not, the communication through the corpus callosum is blocked. That's the most common cause, a form of switching. But then there is finer levels of that in our system, where the commands or the life affirmative commands of your brain are not translated into life affirmative movements. Like, I did that once. I was fighting with my girlfriend, I was driving, this is a long time ago, and I was parked in the middle of the road to make a left turn, and there was a car coming, and I drove right into the car, and so I had a lot of that in the past, and that was when I still had my amalgam fillings, and I had my amalgams taken out and they completely disappeared, So, but switching is basically defined as when the life affirmative thoughts that you have are translated into action that's not life affirmative. And it can be just the actions that you do, but it can also be on the metabolic level or autonomic nervous system level. Let's say you fall in cold water, your skin should contract the blood vessels, to not lose heat, and your body may do the opposite. Or the tiger comes in the door, and you start shitting yourself, instead of running. That's a typical form of switching, in a moment of fear, when the action that you take is not life affirmative, but actually jeopardizes you. And so we have that in all of our lives when we carefully look through, and the exchange of colors in the aura is a very sophisticated, very delicate form of switching that needs to be corrected, definitely.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand with the chakras. I thought you wanted your lines to all be parallel, so the closer you are to the body, the more negative response? Or you said which are more active, the further or the...
No, you have a general field that every body part gives off when you're standing straight, where the lines are as if every photon that comes out moves in a plane, and that plane is in the sagittal plane. That means Sagitta is the arrow. So it's like as if an arrow goes to the middle of your line, and the photon swings along that arrow. And that's everywhere in the body. And so, with the exception that's directly over the chakras, is a superimposed second field. The other field is still there, but it's weak. And the strong field over the chakra is that this thing doesn't come out straight, it comes out and twists in space. And we have the only method that I know that can actually detect that it does it to start with, and then how fast does it do it? Does it, have like 15 turns, out here, or only half a turn out here, and that determines the activity. But I want to make this clear. I didn't come tonight to teach you that. What I came to do is just show you where you're going with this method, what's sort of on the other end. What you're supposed to learn these few days is the actual technique, which is the hard part of it. That's, some of you will learn it quickly, and some of you it will be very slow, but it's worth staying with it to learn it. And we have the straight arm test, and we have the O-ring test. That's coming up still. And I want to, because I saw some of you testing, I want to immediately nip some of the things in the bud and correct it. So the let me see. Do we have a thing to paint on? Well, okay. So yeah. So I like to give you the.
I can lift the board for you.
Oh.
There's a right over here.
Do you ever see the chakras when you ever do that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you're gonna see that they're usually like interlocking wheels. One goes this way, the next one goes the other way, and there's a whole thing. We can do this a typical female way and a typical male way, and then we have the transgender people that about a third of the time, like a man who wants to be a woman, where the man really, a third of the time, really tests like a woman, and I know they should go through with the procedure and do it. But 2/3 of men who want the chain test like a man, and I know they need some heavy psychotherapy, some early childhood work, and the moment you hit the right spot, they're flipping back to normal. It's not a popular, politically, not a correct thought, but I've seen that so many times, working in so many countries, and so we can predict from the way the chakras go whether you truly are your gender or not. But, I'm not gonna, that comes later, when you get good at